Round 2 of the playoffs, and the red-hot Celtics, who swept Indiana, move on to Cleveland. The Cavs are in the second round for the first time in 16 years.
Then later on, we'll relive some truly magical moments with the rebroadcast of the 1992 All-Star Game.
And why are these people lining up for tickets at the Thomas and Mack Center? Because the NBA playoffs are coming to Las Vegas. But first, it's showtime. Richfield Coliseum, just outside Cleveland, site of today's Eastern Conference Semifinal Game 1 between the Celtics and the Cavs. Boston comes in riding a wave of recent success. They've won 11 straight, all without Larry Bird, and 18 of their last 19, for that matter. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Costas. I'll be joined a bit later by Quinn Buckner and the Insiders, Peter Vesey and Bob Ferry. The schedule today on NBC calls for Game 1 of the Boston-Cleveland series, and it was going to be followed by Game 4 of the first-round series between the Jazz and the Clippers. However, due to events in Los Angeles the last couple of days, that game, originally scheduled for Thursday, won't be played until tomorrow. Instead, we'll bring you today a second look at this year's NBA All-Star Game, featuring that memorable performance by Magic Johnson, and we'll talk live with Magic throughout the rebroadcast of the All-Star Game. Right now, let's take a live look at the South Central Los Angeles area. You can see the LA Sports Arena where the Clippers play, and out beyond that, the LA Coliseum where the Raiders play and other sports events take place. That immediate area there appears to be, for the moment, calm. Standing by live near the Los Angeles Sports Arena is Jennifer Volpe of NBC News. Let's go to her for the latest on the situation in LA. Jennifer?
Good morning, Bob. You're absolutely right. It is relatively calm and relatively peaceful out here in South Central Los Angeles. We're right across from the LA Sports Arena, where we had wanted to come to you from the steps of the Sports Arena. I don't know if you can see behind me or not, or perhaps you saw in your aerial footage, but there are thousands of federal troops and also of National Guard troops that are using the entire sports complex right now as their staging area, or as their home base, if you will. What a stark contrast this is, basically, from what we thought would be happening out here today as Clippers fans prepared for their team's first playoff appearances in 16 years. It is an area more known for the screams of fans than for the screams of unrest that have plagued this city since late Wednesday. To one corner of the Los Angeles Sports Complex is the Sports Arena, home of the Clippers. Next door is the LA Memorial Coliseum, home to the Raiders. Today, both are home to over 6,000 now federalized National Guard troops. The complex is intact. The surrounding streets, however, have not fared so well. Troops patrol the area like a war zone, but not in time to prevent the looting of this gas station right across the street from the arena, or the burning of this strip mall, a smoldering reminder of the worst urban rioting to hit this country since the 1960s. And so, Bob, basically, let's hope that Sunday's game provides a pleasant, if only temporary, diversion from the long road to rebuilding that this city's going to have to face.
That game, of course, to take place in Anaheim. As we could see, the area immediately behind you, Jennifer, calm and obviously being used as a staging area for the troops. But what about the larger general vicinity? Are there more eruptions of violence and unrest in Los Angeles today, or are things in general calming down?
Well, from what we hear, things are getting considerably better. There has been a marked decrease in the number of fires and lootings overnight, but it's still a little too early to call it definite calm or peace.
Jennifer Volpe in Los Angeles, thanks very much. This is the NBA's Vice President of Operations, Rod Thorne, who's heavily involved in the scheduling of the games for the league. What was the thinking behind the switching of the Clipper game to Anaheim and the Laker game to Las Vegas?
Well, Bob, we had several factors to consider, principally of which were the safety factor for both participants and patrons, and secondly, the competitive aspect. We have other teams in the playoffs other than these. We have to adhere to some sort of schedule, and we have to be as fair as we can to both the Clippers and the Lakers, Portland and Utah. So in considering all the factors and in being in constant contact with the mayor's office in Los Angeles, there was a curfew involved yesterday, and we had to make the decision to move out of Los Angeles.
Now, the Clippers go to Anaheim, but the Lakers go to Las Vegas. Is there some feeling on their part that they have truly relinquished a home court advantage here?
Well, Bob, I think both of them have relinquished the home court advantage because they're not playing on their floor. They looked around for an alternative site. We looked around for an alternative site. We looked from San Diego to Sacramento to Phoenix, Las Vegas, wherever we could come up with an acceptable arena. And it turned out that they ended up in Anaheim and in Las Vegas.
I would guess that the management of both clubs, while not being delighted from a selfish standpoint, sees the larger picture and sees that this was the only alternative.
Well, they were most cooperative, Bob, both the Clippers and the Lakers, understanding that an act of God can happen at any time, and we do have to get the games played, and I cannot say enough for the cooperation that both of them gave us.
Rod, thanks very much. As Rod Thorne just explained, the situation in Los Angeles forced the NBA to reschedule Game 4 of the Jazz-Clippers series and move it to the Anaheim Convention Center. For both teams, the events of the last 4 days have had a profound effect on both a professional and a personal level.
I was in a fairly safe neighborhood, and then all of a sudden it started escalating, and pretty soon it was like 4 blocks from my house, and they were burning and looting and doing things like that, and then I was starting to get a little worried.
I think what's going on here is far more important than playing a basketball game. Certainly, we were excited about getting into the playoffs. The first time we have been in the playoffs since we've been the Clippers. But I think everyone has put that on the back burner.
I think the sad thing of this whole situation is the truly innocent people that woke up, went to work, and was on the way home, and their life changed forever. You cannot. I do not feel sympathy for people that go out to hurt other people and to harm other people when these people have nothing, have never did anything, and then you look and it's because of the color, the skin color, when they get right down to it. And I have no kind of respect for that.
You're still a human being, and sometimes I think people think you're an athlete and you're something else, but we're just like everyone else, and we have those same feelings. And some people can't work in this circumstance. We're probably going to have to. I just hope we can work to the best of our ability.
So the 4th game of the Jazz-Clippers series is now set for tomorrow afternoon. The game was originally scheduled for the LA Sports Arena, which is in downtown Los Angeles. It's been moved south about 40 miles to the Anaheim Convention Center. But the teams won't check out Anaheim until game day tomorrow. Instead, both teams are practicing in the Marina del Rey area at Loyola Marymount University. And that's where Tom Hammond joins us from now. Tom?
Bob, both teams will be practicing here later today, and one is struck by the difference a few miles makes. We're less than 5 miles from the center of the worst riding in Los Angeles, yet here at Loyola Marymount, everything is very tranquil. It was here yesterday that Clippers officials were frantically on the phone trying to decide when and where to play Game 4. The NBA preferred that they play today, but the Clippers were adamant that the game be postponed till Sunday. As far as an alternate site, Pauley Pavilion at UCLA was their first choice, but Los Angeles Mayor Tom Bradley has been adamant that no public demonstrations, no public gatherings take place this weekend, and police would have to be taken off the streets for traffic and crowd control, so Pauley Pavilion was rejected. Long Beach was considered, but there's been some rioting there as well. The arena at the University of California, Irvine was a choice for a while, but the arena was just too small, so finally the Anaheim Convention Center was settled upon, the former home of the ABA Anaheim Amigos. It holds only about 7,400, but they figure that the 11,000 Clipper ticket holders will be reduced by half or so, so there should be enough room for everyone, and no tickets will be sold at the site. There is some debate about whether these games should take place in the context of what has gone on the last few days in Los Angeles. Opinions range from the fact that they shouldn't be played at all to perhaps that they will have a unifying force on the city. Meanwhile, for the teams, preparations continue. In fact, the Clippers are arriving now to start their practice in just a few minutes. Bob?
Tom, thank you. When the violence first erupted in Los Angeles on Wednesday, the Lakers and Trailblazers were playing Game 3 of their series at the Forum in Inglewood. Game 4 was scheduled for last night, but yesterday, the NBA, as we said, decided to move the game to Las Vegas.
Well, I think we had to move it out of here. I don't see how we could play a game here with the situation the way it is. It's just too dangerous for people. I thought it'd be an NBA city, but, we're just anxious to get on with this and start playing. We've been sitting around quite a while now.
We have no control over this situation right now. We have to try and stay focused, as hard as that may be. I mean, there's a lot more pressing things going on besides basketball.
Well, it was really important that we have a site. Like I said before, we've been in limbo for a while now, and most of the players are kind of anxious to get out there and get going again, and really after losing the game the other night. These days get longer and longer, so we want to get back out on the court as soon as possible.
Well, both the Trailblazers and the Lakers are traveling to Las Vegas this morning. The Lakers, I think, have arrived within the last few minutes, and the Blazers should be getting there within the hour. Here's a look at the scene yesterday at the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas. People lining up to get tickets for the game. Unlike the Clippers contest, which moved a comparatively small distance, the Lakers and Blazers have relocated 282 miles away. And joining us live now at McCarran Airport in Las Vegas is Joel Myers. Joel?
Well, Bob, you were just mentioning that the Clippers got to go down to the Anaheim Convention Center. Unfortunately for the Lakers and the Portland Trailblazers, it is a 5-hour ride from Los Angeles. So these two teams relocating all the way to the Thomas & Mack Center. And as I speak to you, Mike Dunleavy has just arrived, the Los Angeles Lakers team plane, and also Byron Scott. Coach, watching all the human suffering over the last few days in Southern California, how did you keep your team focused?
Well, it's been a tough situation because the media coverage and all, it's all around you, and a lot of our players know a lot of people who are going through some problems. But we have to go on. We have to play our game. We have to do what we're paid to do. And even though it's difficult for some people, we are going to make the best out of it.
Let's try to get Byron in here as well if we can, because this is a young man, obviously, that has strong emotional ties. He grew up in the area right around the Forum. Thank you, Byron, for taking the time. How can you get back to basketball after you saw your old neighborhood go up in flames over the last few days?
Well, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough for everybody that's involved. But we have a job at hand, and we know what we came out here to do. So, for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or whatever it takes for us to win this basketball game, we have to kind of put that situation in Los Angeles aside and concentrate at the job at hand.
And for both of you gentlemen, I was there Wednesday night. The emotional outpouring of your home crowd was incredible. Now you give up that home court advantage. Mike, first of all, what does it mean, and does it make any difference because of what has gone on over the last 3-4 days?
Well, from our standpoint, obviously we lose a big advantage. We came home, we played our hearts out. I think our fans gave us a big boost. They gave us the energy that we needed to play a very emotional game. I don't know that we can get that in Las Vegas. Particularly, the fans here. Hopefully there'll be Laker fans. I don't know, but and in light of what's going on, it still is important to us, to do. I think it's good for our city, good for the pride of that city. It's usually that time of year for them, and it's something that I think that they're proud of, and I think they're proud of the way that we've handled our adversity, and I hope that translates into somehow to give them some help in handling theirs.
All right, Coach, thank you. Byron, thank you for taking the time to come over. It's been a tough week for everybody, to say the least, in Los Angeles. Now, hopefully, all of us that live there can regain that sense of community over the next few days once again. Bob?
Okay, Joel, thanks. One person, obviously, who lives there is Magic Johnson. He'll be joining us later today to comment on the rebroadcast of the All-Star game from this past February, and he'll also be involved with Dick Enberg in the call of the game tomorrow between the Lakers and the Trailblazers here on NBC. Magic, do you have a personal perspective on what's transpired during the past week in L.A.?
Well, people are upset, of course, about the verdict and everything, but I think what we have to do now is just stop the violence and move on. I think what people have to do and remember is the fact that it's happened in their community. They destroy, in terms of blacks, destroyed some of their own property. Now they must build up our own community with our own hands and not really worry about anything else besides just cleaning up the mess and also taking advantage of the situation in terms of just building our community back up.
Magic, how do you react to the Jim Brown comment that superstar athletes, not just Magic Johnson, but other great black athletes, are so far removed by the circumstances of their lives from people who live on the streets that they may have credibility with 95% of the American public, but with those kids in the inner cities, they do not have the credibility they wish they had and can't have an effect on halting violence or changing the circumstances of their lives?
Well, the whole thing is that nobody could halt the violence, whether it be athlete, politician, Jim Brown himself. So Jim has made some good points out of this whole situation. You know, what we have to do is not fight one another. We have to come together. And I want to come together with Jim and everybody else. You know, I have a business right in the community. I go out there a lot. The people there see me all the time, whether I'm shaking hands, signing autographs, what have you. Yes, a lot of times I can't identify because, yes, I'm making a living, I have a job, and a lot of people don't have jobs. But at the same token, I've been there, I'm black, they're black, and I understand their problems. You're not so far removed from the situation that you don't understand it, because I went through it most of my life. Just because I've been able to make a good living now doesn't really remove me from that situation. So what we have to do is not fight among each other. I can't argue with Jim Brown. I can't argue with whoever else. What we have to do is come together and come up with a solution. And that solution is for me and whoever else, whether it's other athletes, whether it's entertainers, is to go back in there and rebuild and provide jobs for the young people and also talk to them. And we can do that. We have the power and the money to do that. So right now, instead of, you know, trying to go against Jim, I'm gonna come together with Jim. And no matter what, Jim is black, I'm black, and we all got to come together and make sure this situation does not happen again.
Magic, thanks very much, and we'll talk with you again later in the day. Coming up now, we'll turn our attention to matters on the court. The Pistons forced a decisive fifth game with the Knicks last night, and we'll be joined by Quinn Buckner and the Insiders, Peter Bessie and Bob Ferry, as this expanded edition of NBA Showtime continues. With the Bulls and Suns having swept their first-round series, and with the Lakers series having been postponed, there was only one game on the playoff docket last night. It was at the Palace in Auburn Hills, Game 4 between the Knicks and the Pistons. Another physical contest featuring lots of defense and very little scoring. Here's a look. Chuck Daly knew that with a loss, it could have been his final game in Detroit. Knicks rookie guard Greg Anthony got more minutes last night than both Mark Jackson and Gerald Wilkins. Tough shot with the right hand by the southpaw. Anthony, an early 11-point Knick lead. Jackson and Wilkins combined for only 4 points. Later in the second quarter, the Pistons go on a 28-4 run. Isaiah down the lane. Detroit coming back to take a 10-point lead at halftime. Now, check out this pass by Joe Dumars through his legs, snapping it to Thomas, who will bury the jumper. The Pistons were up by as many as 16 in the third. Then the Knicks had an impressive run in the fourth quarter. John Starks to Charles Oakley with 48 seconds left. It cuts Detroit's lead to 82-81. But the Pistons remained composed at the foul line, and they held on to take Game 4. Both teams are talking confidently about their chances tomorrow in Game 5.
We're going back home. We wanted to get this win and going on to Chicago. That's not going to happen, so what we got to do is come look forward to Sunday's game and then look forward to going to Chicago.
Now we're going in with some momentum. You know, we're going in feeling confident, and we know we can win in that building. We've won 2 out of the last 3 times we've been there, so you know we're going to go in there with a lot of confidence and just play hard.
Hopefully it'll be a fair game. What the word is in the dictionary. Hopefully means maybe. I hope so. That's
Why did you say that?
Because we're in New York.
All right. Hello, Quinn. Hello, Bob. Hello, Pete. Any reason for John Sally's misgivings?
Well, I think John, like most players in that situation, are looking for a little bit of an edge. But the officiating isn't going to be a big factor in this game. It's going to be who can put the ball in the basket enough times, because both teams are having trouble doing that.
All right. Now, here are the Pistons having forced a Game 5 with their win last night. How do you assess the state of the team?
Well, the state of the team going into Game 4 was total disruption. But this team always plays well when they're pointing fingers at each other and squabbling among each other. The players were pointing fingers at the coaching staff. The coaching staff was pointing fingers at the players.
For what?
Well, the players think that the coaching staff has put too much emphasis on defense. Coaching staff is saying that, hey, if we had offensive players, we'd pay more attention to offense. But the Pistons have always won because of their defense and rebounding, and not because of their offense. But Chuck Daly in Game 4 did go to his offense a lot more. At the end of the game, he had Aguirre on the court instead of John Sally. In Game 3, when Isaiah was going one-on-one with Mark Jackson, Rodman and Sally were in that game underneath, and a lot of people felt there should have been more offensive players in that game.
Well, you know, with Isaiah, he has won more games for him than he's lost. And I don't know if these guys complaining, the guys won them 2 championships. I mean, I think the rest of them have contributed. So there's something to be said for that. In terms of the game in the second half, Mark Aguirre's got to play. And the reason he was in and Sally wasn't in is Pat Ewing just wasn't getting it done. But in terms of guys complaining, yeah, I think it's initially disruptive. But when you get into a circumstance like this, everybody knows that for Detroit, they're at home. They did not want to get beat at home going out in the first round.
Well, let's talk about a story coming out of your place of residence, Milwaukee. Do I hear Hubie Brown's name circulating?
Well, his name has been in the Milwaukee papers, but the Milwaukee journalists seem to attach anybody who's had any affiliation to the Bucks as candidate for that job. I mean, here's a prime example.
You think that's the only reason they thought about me?
They stooped so low, they put his name in the paper. But
Thank you very much.
I mean, Hubie would love to be the coach. He'd love to get back into coaching. He started his career in the pros as a Milwaukee Buck assistant.
You know,
not many people realize that Larry Costello was one of the first coaches in this league that had an assistant.
You know, another name is being thrown out there now that wants to come back and coach is Doug Moe. I guess he's got a clean bill of health now, so you're going to see his name pop up here.
Doug Collins is the guy that would love to get the GM job there. A lot of people have had him as a coaching candidate, but I think he'd like to stay out of coaching this year, or actually for the next few years, so he can watch his son play at Duke. And he feels that this is a real tough time for coaches. You've got to be in the right spot to be a coach nowadays and have all the power, or you're in job jeopardy.
Is that possible? Collins to Milwaukee as the GM?
I don't think it will happen, no. I think they're going to go to somebody that does have an affiliation with that team.
Well, Hubie Brown, he wants control, right? So if he's going to be the coach, he'd like to be the coach, the GM, and maybe the mayor and chief of police, right?
Not Hubie. Power right, Hubie? Yeah, I think that he would like to have both, but John Steinmiller, who is interviewing the people out there, he's a vice president, he said that he's going to try and break up the 2 jobs, although he feels that the people with 2 jobs in this league are the most successful ones.
Don Nelson has 2 jobs, but wasn't successful getting past the first round of the playoffs with Golden State.
That's right. This might be the last time that we'll ever see Don Nelson get into the start a season without a legitimate center. He's got to do something during the offseason to get his team past the first or second round.
But I don't think there's ever been any question about that. This year was a fluke, in my opinion. You bring a kid like Billy Owens in out of the draft, first time the kids play as a rookie, and they get a better record than they got last year. I think he's got to make changes, but I don't think this is anything new in terms of Don Nelson. They just have always needed a center, but not able to get somebody that can pass the ball and keep them in their spread offense.
Well, that's what happens when you draft where they draft. You know, the only way he's going to get a center is move up in the draft or trade for one.
Except this year, they moved up with the Mitch Richmond trade. They moved up to get Owens, and in hindsight, as terrific a player as Owens is, they could have moved up and gotten Mutombo.
Hey, listen, where they drafted last year, they could have had Stanley Roberts.
Yeah, that's right. You know,
and passed up 3 times.
Chances are for them to get a center, they're going to have to take a shot on somebody that's not playing like Stacey King in Chicago and just go with them. And I think a player like that, Don Nelson, could get through to, but they can't go into another season with a 6'7" center, 6'8" center, or whatever.
You know, it's such a shame because he's obviously a tremendous coach, and his teams are so much fun to watch. You'd like to see them get that additional element.
You wish you could watch them longer, though. I mean,
Well, speaking of centers, where's Hakeem Olajuwon going to wind up next year?
Oh, it looks like every team in this league is going to end up making a bid for him, except the Knicks because they have Ewing, and the Spurs because they have David Robinson. But then again, I was talking to Jerry Tarkanian the other day, and he was asking me what it would take to get Hakeem. But I'll tell you, the Lakers are another team that have made an offer or are about to make an offer of Divats and Perkins. I think you might look for that to happen after the year. But again, it's just one of many teams that are going to be making an offer.
Now, how about that as a former GM? Divats and Perkins, if I'm the Lakers, I do that. And if I'm the Rockets, that might be better than any offer I can get, and you know this guy wants out and it's an unlivable situation. That seems like a natural.
Well, it's a natural in a lot of ways. You know, the Lakers aren't really happy with Divac's, you know, his effort all the time, and I think, you know, it's a trade that would fit. You know, a Barkley just doesn't fit because Philadelphia doesn't have a center to get him. So anything that Houston does has to get a center in return.
Okay, moving on. If this is going to be a satisfying last hurrah for Cotton Fitzsimmons, he needs big production from Dan Marley, and Marley's hobbling.
Right, a lot more serious than people have been led to believe. He hurt his left knee in the second game of the Spurs series, took himself out of the game after missing a dunk. Since then, he's gone through every conceivable test, and they haven't come up with anything, and that's the good news. The bad news is they haven't found anything, and he's still hurting.
Well, what makes that so important now is Dan Marley is the guy off the bench that really gives him the pop. But the other person that's been questionable in terms of injuries is Tom Chambers. So now you're looking at not getting any points in the front court with Chambers, and then the one guy who can play 2 or 3 positions, and Marley is hurting. I mean, that puts Phoenix in a tough spot because they've had injuries, and the other guy that is susceptible to injuries that hadn't happened, and I'm not wishing on it, is Kevin Johnson. So they're really struggling and, you know, and trying to get themselves healthy. And at this time in the playoffs, you know, you just can't afford not to be.
See, in the playoffs, you know, you could get a rotation of 7 or 8 people. And the big thing about Dan Marley that Tom Chambers can't do is he can play 2 and 3 positions. And that's how you get your minutes. That's how you keep your starters happy. So that's a devastating blow to them. Tom Chambers is going to come in and score, but he's going to demand more minutes at one position than the other, which is going to take a key player out of the game more.
That's why a guy like Nate McMillan's been so important for George Karl in Seattle. Stays in the rotation because you can move them all around. What about the Olympic team? Anything new on that with the last few spots?
Well, we hear that they're going to meet May 11th for that last couple spots. They're going to make a decision on that. I was with Rod Thorne the other day on the plane out to San Antonio, and he's on that committee. And I was trying to get his pick out of him, and he said, well, what they'll do is they'll whittle it down to 20 or 30 guys, and I asked him to whittle it down to 1 or 2 as he's talking to me, but he wouldn't do it. But I got to say, Clyde Drexler is on that team. If they don't put this guy on the team, there should be an investigation.
I'm not hard-pressed to disagree with that. I mean, I think Clyde this year has shown that he's deserved to play. I know all of us have said pretty prominently that we thought Isaiah Thomas should play. I think Isaiah Thomas has just struggled so much through the season. Part of the reason that the selection wasn't made in total was to give some guys an opportunity to make it based upon their play this year. And I just think Clyde has had a better year.
Well, now remember this. Larry Bird still hasn't played. You know, you can say day to day. Day to day can become week to week, month to month. There might be another spot, right?
Well, yeah, and you got another situation. You got Magic Johnson, who, you know, is questionable, just, you know, if he's going to be healthy enough or whatever by then. Or
I think he'll go.
I'm sure he'll go. But you got Magic Johnson, who hasn't played all year. You got Larry Bird. You know, you need another athlete on that team, somebody that can get up and down the court, play defense, and just an athlete. And Drexler fits that bill better than anybody.
All right, what fits our bill here is to pay some bills. Coming up next, we'll zero in on the game at the Richfield Coliseum between Boston and Cleveland, including Quinn's visit with the Celtics' quiet star, Reggie Lewis. That's after this commercial break. Okay, we're back on NBA Showtime, and due to the extended pregame show, the tip-off of the game between the Cavaliers and the Celtics is scheduled for about 15-16 minutes from now at about 1:18 Eastern Time. This could be one of the best matchups of this year's playoffs. The Cavs have played at a very high level all year, but they've done so, obviously, in the shadow of the Bulls in the NBA's Central Division. Here's a recent history. 3 years ago, the Cavs were seconds away from making it to the second round of the playoffs, but then Michael Jordan connected, and whether coincidence or not, the Cavs started going backwards. From the second-best record in the East in '89 to 2 above 500 the next season, and then all the way down to draft lottery status last May. A major factor in last year's drop-off was injuries, the most devastating being the severe knee injury, which ended point guard Mark Price's season.
When you don't have a quarterback, if the football team lost its quarterback, they'd struggle, and that's what happened to us last year. We really didn't have anybody to back me up.
With Price back running the offense this season, the Cavs had the most improved record in the league, upping their win total by 24. On the defensive end, Cleveland led the league in blocked shots and forced teams to think twice before they brought the ball inside against Larry Nance, Hot Rod Williams, and Brad Daugherty.
A lot of people
early on said we were a soft front line and we didn't play hard, and it was just the opposite. You know, we got two of the better shot blockers in the league, and Hot Rod and Larry, and you just don't want to take the ball to hole in those guys, and you got a big ugly guy like myself standing back there.
With their win over the Nets on Thursday, the Cavs finally made it to the second round of the playoffs, where they thought they were headed 3 years ago.
As far as I'm concerned, we have nothing to lose, because at the beginning of the season, we were picked anywhere from 6th to last, right? No one felt that we'd be in the running. So here we are, and we got past the first round.
Not only did they get past the first round, but the Cavs own home court advantage in this series, and they're a slight favorite to beat the Celtics. Injuries are a key question in the series, as they are in many playoff matchups, and more than ever, to take a look at that, we'll bring in the gentlemen who'll call the game, Marv Albert and Mike Fratello. Marv?
All right, Bob, and it was about an hour and a half ago that the Cavaliers all-star center Brad Daugherty made his way to the Coliseum here in Richfield. You can see the limp. He's still bothered by that sprained ankle, and it is still considerably swollen, but he will be in the starting lineup. It's an ankle sprain that has been with him on and off for most of the season. From the Boston point of view, the injury rundown, Larry Bird, as you know, still out, and he's still being called day to day. D. Brown, though, making his return after missing 8 games with that acute sinus condition and vertigo. It's expected to play in the area of 15 to 20 minutes today. And the Celtics are a well-rested ball club after ending their series with Indiana last Monday. And we discussed that factor with Boston coach Chris Ford.
Sometimes you get too much rest. Sometimes you don't get enough. I think we are rested mentally and physically. I think we're ready to start anew and fresh. And I think it's important for guys like Robert and Kevin who need that extra time. And we went through some good hard practices where I think the guys have stayed sharp. And what I like is how they've come together mentally, and they've really focused in on what they have to go out there and accomplish.
After finishing off the Pacers Monday night, this veteran Celtic team probably could use the rest. I spoke to a couple of the players earlier, and Joe Klein said, hey, we haven't had a lot of scrimmages. We got a chance to do that. Ed Pinckney said some bodies have healed. Rick Fox said, we got D. Brown back. And then when I asked Kevin McHale, 4.5 days, good or bad, he looked at me and said, it's not like we forgot how to play basketball in just 4.5 days.
And Mike, the Celtics are the hottest club in the NBA. They come in with 11 straight wins, 18 of their last 19. We'll be back with game 1 of the best of 7 in just a couple of minutes. Bob?
Okay, Marv, for the last 12 years, the Celtics have come to be identified, of course, by the Hall of Fame front line of Bird, McHale, and Parrish. All have contributed this year, but sporadically because of both age and injuries. But the Celtics still managed to finish the season on a very high note, overtaking the Knicks to win the Atlantic. The baton was passed, and the Celtic carrying it now is the quiet man, Reggie Lewis.
They are symbols of the Celtics' past, a winning tradition unrivaled in the game. The numbers bring back memories of names that read like basketball royalty. Now, as another Celtic era approaches an end, the torch must be passed. The tradition must be continued. That's the way it's always been in Boston. The next Celtic generation is represented by Reggie Lewis, stepping up after an apprenticeship well served.
When you're playing behind Robert Larry and Kevin, there isn't no expectation. You know, the fans here don't expect much of you, nor the coaches or management. So I had a chance to just learn from them and just develop slowly.
Playing in the shadow is nothing new to Reggie Lewis. At Baltimore's Dunbar High School, he took a backseat to teammates and current NBA players Muggsy Bogues, David Wingate, and Reggie Williams. And after starring at Northeastern, 21 NBA teams overlooked him in the 1987 draft.
One thing that I've learned by playing in the shadow of Reggie Williams and David Wingate and Muggs is just gave me determination to work that much harder at my game. I knew that I had a long way to go if I wanted to reach the NBA.
He's the guy who's really stepped up and now is hitting the big baskets in the clutch. The guy that, you know, even the older players think, you know, Kevin, Larry, and Robert, they feel that they can go to him, that they can give him the ball, and he'll create something that may result in even them getting an easy basket.
To see them guys give me the ball when the game is on the line, especially when you see Larry pass up a jumper to give it to you and say, here, it's your turn now, do your thing. I mean, that's a great feeling.
You're the quiet leader on the team. Are you comfortable with that?
I am. I think by me sitting back and learning from Robert, Larry, and Kevin, I know what it takes to be a leader when the game is on the line, winning the ball in clutch situations, knowing how to get the job done. And, that's something that I've observed, saw Larry do it many a times, Kevin and Chief, and, I can't learn from better players.
Making his All-Star game debut, Reggie.
Reggie was the Celtics' sole representative in this year's All-Star game and was the team leader in scoring, block shots, and steals. Again, the Celtics' torch has been passed.
He's playing well and doing everything that he can do to fill, Larry's absent. And he's really stepping up big. And I think, I don't know if it's so much as passing it over, or I think Reggie's stepping up to take it, because I think Reggie wants it.
He's emerging as the new leader of the Boston Celtics.
Quite a statement. True?
It is absolutely the case. I think Reggie said it best. When Larry passes you the ball down the stretch so you can make the shot, that means Larry has confidence that Reggie can make the things happen the way that he can. What I like about him that really makes him the superstar that he is, this guy defends. There are a lot of great offensive players that don't. And when I asked Reggie about where he got this from, he said, I watched Michael Jordan, an offensive player, but he's a very, very good defensive player as well.
Now, Craig Elo is back for the Cavs, but really they don't have anybody who can truly cover this guy at 6'7" in the backcourt.
I think that's going to be Cleveland's biggest problem. First of all, covering Reggie Lewis is going to be their problem. Second of all, Cleveland has not beaten Boston at home this year, so they've got a psychological hurdle they need to get over in this game as well.
Celtics took 3 out of 4 against them. They split in Boston, and as you say, the Celts won both at Richfield Coliseum, which is where we're heading for Game 1 of the Celtics and Cavaliers. Marv Albert and Mike Fratello will have the call, and then later on, we'll bring you a replay of the 1992 All-Star game because there is no second playoff game today. Magic Johnson will join us for his thoughts as we bring you the rebroadcast of the All-Star game. The NBA playoffs on NBC continue right after these messages from your local station, and we'll see you at halftime.
To be a Boston Celtic is to know well this special time of year and what it takes to survive and triumph. The playoffs have been a friendly path to the culmination of so many glorious Celtic seasons. But this spring presented a problem. How to win without the legend who has been Boston's foundation for the last 13 years. With Larry Bird ailing, the Celtics entered the playoffs on fire. But would that continue? Against Indiana, the 2 other pillars of this team, Kevin McHale and Robert Bowers, came forward to lead the way. Help also came unexpectedly from revitalized veteran John Bagley. And from the younger generation in Reggie Lewis as the Celtics swept the Pacers in 3 straight. But still, Bird can only exhort his teammates from the sidelines. Will they continue to fill the vacuum he has left and maintain their winning ways? For the Cleveland Cavaliers, this year has been one of redemption. After missing the playoffs last season, they battled back to achieve the second-best record of the Eastern Conference, trailing only Chicago. In the postseason's first round, the Cavs rejected New Jersey, winning in 4 games. Can they retain their high-flying form as things begin to heat up? Now, round 2 begins. It's the Celtics and the Cavaliers.
Here's what we want. Give him the ball to the backcourt.
This is the NBA on NBC. The 1992 NBA playoffs. Today, it's the Boston Celtics versus the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Fans here in Cleveland are excited about their Cavaliers, who have advanced to the second round welcome you to the Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio, the home of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs knocking off the New Jersey Nets in the first round in 4 games, while Boston swept Indiana in 3. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert, along with the czar of the telestrator, Mike Fratello. Well, first, the injury rundown, as mentioned earlier, Larry Bird is still out with the back spasms. However, D. Brown will return. And, Mike, there are 2 factors that strike me about this playoff matchup. During the regular season, Boston took 3 out of 4 against Cleveland, although the personnel was different on both sides because of injuries. And the Celtics have had quite a bit of rest time in that they were able to knock off Indiana on Monday, while Cleveland had to go to Thursday to conclude with the Nets, and they come right back to it.
Mark, you can throw out the regular season record between these 2 teams because for the Cavaliers, this starting lineup this afternoon, it's only the 2nd time all season that they have been together as starters, never against the Boston Celtics. So the 3-1 advantage, forget it, they start anew. Now, as far as the rest time, coaches have to be masters of the mind game. You make it work to your advantage. Chris Ford said we're a veteran team, we needed the rest, we come in here ready to go now. As far as Lenny Wilkins, he told us we play best with only 1 day in between games, so whatever it takes to make it work, you do it in your favor.
Brad Daugherty is still bothered by the sprained ankle. That could make his matchup with Robert Parrish even more difficult, although Brad was able to hang in Thursday against the Nets.
Well, Brad Daugherty told us yesterday, no way do I ever miss a playoff game. We're talking about 2 centers here. One, the ancient one in Robert Parrish at 38 years of age, and then Daugherty, one of the premier young centers in the NBA. Since Bird has been out, Parrish has really stepped up his game and shouldered some of that leadership responsibility. For Daugherty, he's the focal point for the Cavalier offense. The ball starts in his hands, and then he makes decision considered by many to be the premier passing center in the NBA. So these 2 guys against each other, it could be the key matchup this series.
And joining us, as always, on the sidelines, Ahmad Rashad. Here's Ahmad.
All right, thanks, Bob. You know, the Celtics have been playing so well as of late. Without D. Brown, today he returns, and that brings up the question of how will it affect the chemistry. I asked Robert Parrish about this, and he said, you know, it should be easy for Brown to come back in because we're playing so well. When I asked D. Brown about it, he said the thing that will help him adjust to playing today is the fact that he won't play point guard, he'll play the shooting guard. Marv?
All right, Ahmad. Well, no question, this crowd is ready. Coming up, it's game 1 of the best of 7 between the Celtics and the Cavaliers from the Coliseum.
Welcome to the Coliseum.
Back at the Richfield Coliseum, the Cavaliers are being introduced to the crowd as we check out the starting lineups. Boston with John Bagley, the one-time Cavalier, in the backcourt with Reggie Lewis, who has killed the Cavs the last 2 years. Ed Pinckney and Kevin Gamble open at the forward positions, and at center, Robert Parrish. The coach of the Celtics, Chris Ford, 2nd year as head man in Boston. He's done a masterful job in shuffling his lineup. The Celtics winning the Atlantic Division title. Mark Price and Craig Elo open up in the backcourt for the Cavaliers. Larry Nance and Mike Sanders on the front line, along with Brad Daugherty. And there is Lenny Wilkins, 54 years old, a native of Brooklyn, his 6th year as Cavalier coach, a Hall of Fame player over an outstanding 15-year career. The officials, Jess Kersey, Steve Jaffee, and Bob Delaney. The last time Boston faced Cleveland in the playoffs, round 1 in 1985, and the Celtics won it 3-1. Overall, this is the 3rd playoff meeting between these 2 clubs. Boston won the previous 2. Nance and Parrish on the opening tip, and Bob Delaney says, do it again. The Cleveland Cavaliers have been on a roll here at home, 35-6 during the regular season, including the playoffs. They have won 18 of the last 19 at home. John Bagley working against Mark Price. Now Gamble, played by Sanders. Gamble shooting, and the Celtics with a 2-0 lead.
And Gamble shooting over 59% during the regular season against his Cavalier team. When they brought Mike Sanders in, one of the reasons was they needed a player who, at that small forward position, could defend either Reggie Lewis or Kevin Gamble.
Cavaliers had an excellent regular season record of 57-25, finishing second to Chicago, 57 victories, tying the franchise record for most wins. And the foul called on Sanders. That mark of 57-25, tied for the second best record in the NBA behind Chicago, tied with the Portland Trailblazers.
As we went around the city yesterday, there's still a lot of comparisons here. Which team was better for the Cavaliers, the first 57-win team or this one?
Ed Pinckney able to slip inside to give the Celtics a 4-0 lead.
Getting back to that, the local sports fans feel that the other 57-win team was much more explosive. They were mentioning how many times the game would be over at the end of the first quarter with the Cavs up 15 to 20 points.
Here's Daugherty. Is this a certified poll that you conducted? Is there some scientific basis to this?
All the key people that I ran into.
Gamble, and is rebounded by Daugherty. Daugherty met on the mismatch by Lewis. Oh, he thought he was fouled, no call. Reggie Lewis has averaged just under 28 per game this season against the Cavaliers. Parrish and Daugherty off the board. Nance saving it. Here's Price. And it's Nance drawing the foul.
In talking with Lenny Wilkins yesterday, one of the big points that he tried to emphasize to this team was if we're going to advance in the playoffs, we must do a better job on the glass. They went into that New Jersey series, ranked only 21st in rebounding this year as a team, yet New Jersey, the best rebounding team in the NBA, Cleveland destroyed them on the glass, particularly in the deciding game. This team can do it, he feels, but it takes extra concentration for them to rebound well on a regular basis.
Another solid season for Larry Nance in his 11th year out of Clemson. Spent 6.5 years with the Phoenix Suns. Came to the Cavaliers as part of the package deal for Kevin Johnson, a deal that helped both clubs immensely. Bagley tries to do it off the dribble and throws the air ball. May have nipped the rim, and here's it from the crowd. Greg Elo. Crowd looking for a travel on Gamble. Parrish sets the pick. And Gamble goes all the way. Gamble could have had the pick and roll with Parrish, but he opted for the drive. Cavaliers have missed their first 5 field goal attempts. Gamble knocked it out. It'll be Cleveland ball. Sanders rebounded by Nance. And Nance back to the foul line.
Larry Nance, one of those active bodies, always around the rim. You must keep a body on him if you're a defensive rebounder, and pay special concentration the entire afternoon, because his job is to go get second shots for this team.
Larry Nance last year bouncing back strong from ankle surgery, although he's altered his game. He's taken the outside shot a bit more frequently. Celtics lead by the score of 6-3. And the call against Boston. Offensive foul on Pinckney.
One of the big reasons that Reggie Lewis has been able to have such big games against Cleveland this year is that Craig Elo was not able to match up against him very often. With Elo back in the starting lineup, there's finally size there for Lenny Wilkins' team to defend Reggie Lewis. So the Celtics have to set him free with good screens.
Cavaliers off to the slow start. Yes, Craig Elo was out some 19 games because of a strained knee problem, so missed a couple of meetings against Boston. Gamble, rebounded by Pinckney. Kevin McHale is getting set to check in. Here is Lewis. And both clubs are struggling here at the start.
Well, Larry Nance is a presence in front of the rim. When you take it to the basket, Nance is one guy you're going to face, and then when John Williams comes in, another one that either block or change shots.
Elo for three. And the Cavs, now Nance hits, but it will not count. Loose ball foul is called. The foul on Nance. The Cavaliers are now 0 for 8 from the field.
This is a difficult call. Did Larry Nance have the basketball first and then the contact, or did he hit the Celtic player before he got the basketball? Tough one there when you tell players, go after the ball when it's in the air. It's anybody's ball.
Kevin McHale has checked in. 4.5 gone by first quarter. Celtics lead 6-3. McHale using the strength on the mismatch against Elo.
I'm not sure Cleveland wants to continue to switch that pick and roll.
0 for 9 for the Cavaliers. Reggie Lewis. It's Boston 10 and Cleveland 3, and Lenny Wilkins wants a timeout. 5 minutes gone by in this first quarter. Cleveland yet to convert a field goal. Cavaliers trailing the Celtics 10-3. The Cavs finished up their series with the Nets on Thursday. Boston concluded with Indiana last Monday. We asked Lenny Wilkins, is that an advantage or a disadvantage?
If you're physically fit, if you're healthy, I don't think it's a real problem because I would prefer to play every other day. I think for us as a team, knowing my team, that when we have 2-3 days off, we kind of lose our timing a little bit for some reason. And I've watched this all year long. I prefer playing every other day.
Well, if I had been in a similar situation, Mark Price with a little floater off the glass. I had been in a similar situation with the Hawks. We came off a very emotional series against Detroit, had only a day and a half in between, faced the Celtics, got destroyed in game number 1. We almost had to treat the first game like a practice, a preparation period for our team.
Well, Kevin Gamble matching that field goal by Mark Price. The bucket by Price ending an 0 for 9. And as you can see, they're now 1 out of 10, and this is a good shooting ball club. Celtics lead by the score of 12-5. Halfway through the opening quarter. Nance with the step. Blocked by Parrish. Bagley has a 2-on-1. Gamble giving Boston a 14-5 lead.
Even though the decision was to go to Gamble, you still had Robert Parrish filling the lane, trying to outrun Daugherty.
And Mike Sanders able to take advantage. Sanders had a strong game against the Nets in game 2. This is second go-around with Cleveland. Sanders has been around San Antonio, Phoenix, Cleveland, Indiana. Back to the Cavaliers. Parrish rejected by Nance. The Cavaliers lead the NBA in blocked shots. Daugherty with the tip. And McHale gets to the rebound.
And Larry Nance recently becoming the all-time #1 shot-blocking forward in the history of the NBA, passing Elvin Hayes, and he takes a lot of pride in his defense, and there are many different forms of good defense. One is changing and blocking shots. This is his best season ever in blocks.
Lewis with the setup for Parrish. It will be Boston ball.
Well, both teams seem to enjoy the fact that good defense can lead to easy offense. Robert Parrish at the one end of the floor for the Celtics taking care of it. And then at the other end, Nance coming back with his second block of the game.
And what is most unusual about the Cavaliers, who lead the NBA in blocked shots, they do not do it from the center position for the most. As Elo on a steal, Lewis is back. Elo to the reverse. Hot Rod Williams, who just checked in, able to tip it home. Williams coming off a big one Thursday against the Nets. Daugherty with the save. comes for Daugherty, and he is rejected by Parrish.
Well, Robert Parrish certainly is ready for this basketball game. He's running the floor. He's down the court, trying to take advantage of the bad ankle by Daugherty. And that time, in one-on-one coverage, makes the block.
Kevin Gamble on fire. In this opening quarter, he's hit 5 of 7. He has 10 points. Celtics 16, the Cavaliers 9. Williams through the foul. Getting back to the point regarding block shots, the Cavaliers have done it on the strength of people like Larry Nance and John Hot Rod Williams.
Well, the Celtics are used to guys like Robert Parrish blocking shots, but for Daugherty, only 78 blocks during the regular season. Not very much for centers. As you mentioned, the other two guys do the bulk of it.
And Robert Parrish among the leaders at the center position. And now Parrish will sit down. Joe Klein will check in. Parrish departing after picking up his second foul. Celtics lead 16-11 as we come up on 4 minutes to go in this first quarter. John Bagley, a #1 draft pick of the Cleveland Cavaliers back at 82. He spent 6 years with the club. Lewis, and it's tipped home. Kevin McHale with the tip. Boston by 7. Here is Price. Yes.
And that's one of the biggest differences for Bagley, guarding Price instead of a Michael Williams from Indiana. Price has range on the shot. You have to play up tight, and then he has that sneaky quickness to go by you off the dribble.
Price able to push it down. Williams played by McHale. Hot Rod Williams, such a talented player, can do it inside and outside. A quick 6 off the bench for Hot Rod.
And probably one of the toughest decisions a general manager and owner ever had to make, whether or not to go ahead and pull the trigger and do one of the trades that were discussed early this year to move Hot Rod Williams because of his big contract, or keep him.
Gamble with the strong drive to give Boston a 20-15 lead. Yes, Hot Rod Williams still enjoying that lucrative 7-year deal he signed last season, thanks to the offer sheet extended by Miami, and the Cavaliers had to match it. $26.5 million over 7 seasons. Daugherty, and rebounded by Klein. To make matters worse, last year Williams sprained his foot mid-November, missed 37 games. He had been such a durable player up until then.
Well, sometimes you just have to let things develop. Sometimes the best trades are the ones that you don't wind up making.
Reggie Lewis, Boston 22 and Cleveland 15.
In the early going, it looks like the Celtics are going to see how bad Daugherty's ankle really is. They are not double teaming. They're playing him straight up, seeing if he does have the mobility and push to get to the rim and score.
2 minutes. Daugherty has opened up 0 for 6 from the field. Here's Williams. Oh, terrific start for John Hot Rod Williams. He has 8. The Celtics lead 22-17.
It was almost like pushing a button. Yesterday, they said that the Cavaliers, when Kevin McHale came on the floor, Williams would come on the floor because he's our best chance of playing him. And there it is right there, Hot Rod Williams.
Daugherty from Price, yes, and it counts. The Celtics want to talk it over.
Daugherty may have been a little jealous of Parrish running the floor, so he takes his turn on the fast break, finishes, and then to show that that ankle may not be all that good, takes a moment here just to test it once again. You can see he's in pain.
Brad Daugherty shooting 1. And Brad Daugherty to the line, looking to complete the three-point play. Yes, he looks to be favoring it. Bothered by a sprained right ankle. For a report, here's Ahmad.
All right, Marv, the trainer, Gary Briggs, told me that he taped that ankle a lot tighter than he normally tapes it. He's also playing with a playing brace, so it's going to bother him a little bit during the course of the game, but it's just how much pain he can take and keep on playing with it.
All right, Ahmad, since the slow start, Cleveland has outscored Boston 15-8. And they are now within 2.
Getting back to that bad ankle for Daugherty, the same thing in Game 4 against New Jersey. They felt it would take him a while in the first quarter to loosen it up.
Reggie Lewis loosening up. He now has 6. Kevin Gamble leading Boston with 12. John Hot Rod Williams off the bench for a quick 8. And he's the high man for Cleveland. Sanders with the spin and the fadeaway. Comes to Daugherty. Nice fake, and he's hammered.
For many of our viewers who have not had an opportunity to see Cleveland during the regular season, they really like to spread the floor, get behind the three-point line because of the great perimeter shooting they have between Price, Kerr, Elo, the three-point threat, John Battle, a good outside shooter. It really makes it even more important that they get that ball down low. If teams start to double team back down on Daugherty or Williams or Nance, then they just kick it out. You'll see a number of high pick and rolls from Price, a lot of baseline screens and spacing between their offensive players.
Larry Nance is back. Mike Sanders sitting down. You saw the graphic concerning the free throws. Price with a steal. Elo, Price. Yes! The Cavaliers have come from a 9-point deficit, and the game is tied at 24. Lewis, rebounded by Daugherty.
Well, you take one off the floor, Nance, and you bring on a John Williams. Then when you have them both out there, big problem.
Mark Price giving the Cavs the 2-point lead. Time running out in this first quarter. Down to 10 seconds. Bagley looking to reset it. Down to 5. Here's Bagley. So that's the end of one. Cleveland, after missing its first 9, hitting only 2 of 14, roaring right back. Mark Price, 4 for 6 for 8 points. And the Cavaliers lead Boston by 2 after 1 at the Coliseum in Richfield.
Now, Mike has been talking about how much pride that Larry Nance and Hot Rod Williams have in blocking shots. This is a t-shirt that Larry Nance came up with. Bring it on, baby. This is their challenge to anybody who comes in the lane, that they will block all the shots. They take tremendous pride in it, and they have been following through it as Larry Nance being the top blocking forward in NBA history.
Ahmad, second quarter underway, and this, when things are going well, is one of the loudest arenas in the NBA. They have been screaming right from the opening tip. The Cavaliers have come from behind. They've been able to settle down. They lead it 26-24. In the first quarter, Boston 12 for 25 from the field. Cleveland 9 for 25. That after the 0 for 9 start.
How things change in the NBA. Off of that Indiana series, all you thought about was Lewis and Bagley. Right now, John Bagley 0 for 2, but Reggie Lewis knocks one down.
8 points for Lewis. And D. Brown is available once again after missing 8 games with the acute sinus condition. Substitution for Cleveland. John Battle, 7-year man from Rutgers, checks in, replacing Greg Elo. John Battle, a man who played for you as a member of the Atlanta Hawks.
A terrific addition by the Cavaliers. They needed someone to come off the bench who could get them points in a hurry, and John Battle can certainly do that. Has that jump shot that once he gets it going, he's dynamite.
Larry Nance with his first field goal, and the Cavaliers now lead 28-26. Brad Daugherty has controlled the backboards. He has 10 rebounds.
One of the things the Celtics exploited during the regular season, when Battle came in and played against Reggie Lewis, they went right to Lewis down in the low post area.
And it's rebound number 11 for Daugherty. Hot Rod Williams. He was hacked, and he will go to the line. So once again, the Cavs to the free throw line. I started to make the point earlier, the Cavaliers spending much time at the line. The Celtics yet to shoot a free throw. Despite the good Boston free throw shooting, they lead the NBA just under 81%. They do not go to the line frequently, in contrast to the Cavaliers, who are second in foul shooting, right around the 80% mark. There you see Boston just under 81, followed by Cleveland, then Miami and Indiana.
And in fact, in the 4 games during the regular season, Cleveland 96 free throw attempts, Boston only 55 against each other.
The Boston Celtics, winners of 11 in a row, 18 of the last 19, and they have won the 11 straight without Larry Bird.
There's the post-up of Lewis against John Battle.
And he drew the foul, so Reggie Lewis looking to use the height advantage against the 6'2" John Battle.
John Battle realizes that he has to meet Reggie Lewis early and try and bump him out away from that low block area. If he catches it down low, it's just too easy to turn, elevate, and shoot over the top of John Battle. But you try to do the best you can. If it gets to where it's really a problem, they will have to start double-teaming Reggie Lewis, which is not what they really want to do right now.
Celtics to the line for the first time. Here's Rick Fox, the rookie from North Carolina, replacing Kevin Gamble, who leads with 12 points. Reggie Lewis averaged just under 28 a game against the Indiana Pacers, and as we mentioned earlier, over the last couple of seasons, he has done extremely well against the Cavaliers. 2 minutes gone by, second quarter. Marv Albert with Mike Fratello and Ahmad Rashad from the Coliseum in Richfield. Battle on a quick release. And the rebound handled by McHale. Bagley and Lewis at the guards. McHale, Klein, and Fox up front. And Pinckney getting set to return. McHale to the fadeaway. And Boston has tied it at 30. Price and Battle at the guard. Sanders with Nance and Williams up front. Here's Price penetrating. Cavaliers 32, the Celtics 30.
Mark Price, when he came into the NBA, many felt that he just wasn't quick enough, was too small, wasn't tough enough, not physical enough to be a premier guard in this league, and certainly has had an outstanding career thus far.
Good box out by Sanders. Battle could not handle the pass. Lewis finding Bagley. And the game is tied at 32. Mark Price also has come back from career-threatening reconstructive surgery. Cavaliers with the edge off the boards, led by Daugherty, who has 11. Brad getting a rest at the moment. Shot clock down to 6. Double up on Nance. Now to 1. Sanders. And that's a 24-second violation.
And Sanders is a very good shooter when he's in his range, 15 to 17 feet. You get him out by that three-point line, it's not quite the same.
All right, here's Price with the drive that he was able to put off glass. Coliseum in Richfield, the home of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they are clear-cut the most improved team in the NBA this season. These are the best turnarounds in the history of the league. The San Antonio Spurs, when they added David Robinson, went to a plus 35. Larry Bird certainly helping the Celtic cause, going to a plus 32. The Cavs with an increase of 24 wins from last season. So Mark Price, who just sat down, replaced by Steve Kerr. The Cavs went down last year when Price suffered the knee injury. 8 points for McHale, and the Celtics now lead it by 2. Cavaliers were devastated by the loss of Price's superb penetrating setups. They went 33 and 49, next to last in the Central a year ago. Steve Kerr off the bench to connect.
Depending on what your criteria are for your vote being cast for MVP in the NBA, would Mark Price deserve some consideration?
Absolutely. He won't win it, but he certainly should be a candidate. I think it's tough. Lewis fires one high and wide, and the Cavaliers there to put it home. So the Celtics lead 36-34. I don't see how you can go against Michael Jordan. There are other worthy candidates out there, but it's tough not to go with Jordan. But Mark Price should be in the top 4 or 5. Nance got bottled up. Shot clock at 3. Williams pass deflected, and it will be Cleveland ball with 2 on the 24. Here's Brad Daugherty making his return. And he replaces Mike Sanders. 2 on the shot clock. Hot Rod Williams will put it in play. Battle's got to pump it from downtown.
Surprising that it was that close, because Reggie Lewis was up challenging that shot, and I'm not sure Battle got a real good look at the front of the rim.
We get a first look at Sherman Douglas this afternoon, who's come on for John Bagley. Fox and Kerr able to scoop it. Kerr and Battle now in the backcourt. Daugherty with Williams and Nance up front. Battle being played by Lewis. He's been given the shot, but changed his mind. Williams, and rebounded by Lewis.
Besides having to guard Lewis at one end, Lewis's size has discouraged Battle at the other end of the floor.
Sherman Douglas with his first field goal, and Boston leads 38-34. Celtics led by as many as 9. Cavaliers missed their first 9 shot attempts. They went 2 for their first 14, and then they turned it around. And that is a charge.
Well, Steve Kerr stuck his nose in there. He waited the entire way and gambled on the fact that Lewis would not give up the ball soon enough. Good job against him by Kerr. Tough to stand in there when you got a guy 6'7" coming at you full speed, but Steve Kerr has courage.
3-time All-Star Brad Daugherty in his 6th year out of North Carolina, and he's certainly changed the minds of those who claimed that he was soft when he came out of college. Brad Daugherty has come a long way.
Yeah, my first year, it was just a learning process. You know, the college game and the pro game are just totally different. Because of the illegal defenses and things like that, it kind of frees our game up, and it's more, you know, you have 10 guys on the court, but actually it's individualized. And if you're not able to create a little space for yourself and create opportunities for yourself at this level, it's going to be tough to be a good player. And, you know, I had to realize that, and it took me a process. It was a process I had to go through, and I think it's come rather quickly for me, because I realize now that it is reapplication of what I've learned.
If Brad Daugherty is a soft center, I know a lot of coaches out there in the league that would love to have one soft center like him on their team.
But that was the tag coming out of North Carolina.
He was a youngster. He's 20 years old coming into the NBA, not near being physically developed, trying to learn the game, which is so different, as he said, than the collegiate game.
That's Kersey with the call. That previous foul was charged to Fox.
Defense called on the Celtics. That's a first call.
Illegal defense called on Boston.
A little physical play down in the low post area, but nothing new when it comes to playoff time.
Mike, when you were making considerations for the draft as a coach of the Atlanta Hawks, and you're looking at a guy like Daugherty, could you have said right then that this would be a player would develop into a 3-time All-Star and that he was going to be as good as he has become? Did you see it right away?
If you take the time to do enough research, if he comes from a class program like Carolina, where you know he's had great coaching, you try to ensure as much as you can the fact that he's going to turn out to be a terrific player. You don't know what his work ethic is like. You don't know what's inside his heart. But after all the research, and you realize how tough it is to find centers that can score, pass, and have his size at that young age, no question, you take the guy.
On the Celtics, Robert Parrish returns.
So you're saying you knew it all along. Is that what we're getting here?
That was a long way of saying I knew it all along.
You're saying you have no idea is what you're saying.
I may have been saying that also.
Yes. Hot Rod Williams looking to bring the Cavaliers within 3. 5:20 remaining first half. Light pressure by Cleveland.
Something the Cavaliers have done for years since Lenny Wilkins has been here. After a free throw, take a big man who they feel his guy won't be able to dribble up the floor and just go run and double team the point guard in the backcourt, see if you can get him to give it up, and then don't give it back to him again. A little token pressure, they call it.
Pinckney got the step. For Daugherty. Here's Battle. Yes. Celtics 38, Cavaliers 37.
John Battle shoots that medium-range jump shot as well as any guard in the league if you give him a clear look at the basket. That time coming off the screen, wide open.
Douglas thought McHale was cutting to the left. Sherman Douglas coming on for John Bagley, one of the heroes of the series against Indiana, but a quiet start for the one-time Cavalier Bagley. Later on, we will probably see D. Brown yet to play in this first half. Here is Nance. And the Cavaliers recapture the lead. Cleveland 39 and Boston 38. Another tough assignment for Battle. Picking up with Gamble. Here's Douglas. They're giving him the open shot on the double team.
And you can probably bet that they'll stay with that until Douglas knocks a few down.
Battle providing a three-point Cavalier lead, and Boston takes a timeout.
John Battle has great explosiveness in his legs, has enough ability to handle the ball and make decisions to swing between both the point guard or scoring guard.
Out here at the Richfield Coliseum. Now a little bit more on that Brad Daugherty toughness thing. Brad says, I knew I was always tough. I have two older brothers, and I was beat up by them, kicked around by bulls and horses. I knew I was tough. And also, my hero when I grew up was Richard Petty. That's why he wears number 43. It's the same number on the car that Richard Petty drives. And he says, you know what, I play just like Richard Petty drives, and that is all out. Marv?
All right, Ahmad, and Brad Daugherty playing all out here on the first half despite the sprained ankle. He has been the man off the boards with 11 rebounds. They pressure Sherman Douglas. Gamble, oh, nice move by Kevin Gamble. 14 for Gamble. The Cavaliers now lead by the score of 41-40.
Chris Ford coming back with Robert Parrish, the chief, and even though his numbers may not be that impressive, 0 for 3 from the floor, 1 rebound, he had 2 blocks, was very active early in the game when the Celtics jumped out on the Cavaliers.
Parrish sat down after collecting his second foul. Now Parrish up front, along with Pinckney and McHale. So Gamble is playing at the shooting guard, which is a mismatch in favor of the Celtics. Battle try to draw the foul. Shot clock at 3. Down to 1. And it is a violation.
Sometimes it's just the small things that make a big difference. That time, John Williams hustling out, got an arm up, deflected a pass that was intended into the low post. As a result, it gave the 24-second clock the opportunity to run out.
Art Price is back. So Price and Battle at the guards. Daugherty with Williams and Nance on the Cleveland front line. Battle off the pump. Through the foul.
John Battle may have a tough time guarding Gamble because of size and strength, but at the other end of the floor, Gamble's going to have a difficult time guarding Battle, who has the ability to put it down and get to where he wants to on the floor, and then he has that great explosive power in his legs to elevate and get a shot off. John Battle is a 4th-round draft pick, the 84th pick out of Rutgers University, and one of the finest young men, extremely talented. I remember in rookie camp that year when he thought he wasn't going to make it, seeing Battle at the piano about 1 a.m. in the morning.
At the piano?
At the piano. Never took a lesson, but learned how to play just by working at it and listening, and terrific at the keyboard now. Had tears in his eyes, felt he had no chance of making the NBA.
Cavaliers with a 3-point lead. 2:20 remaining in the first half. Battle with the save. A poignant story served up by the Czar. Tears in the eyes at the piano.
He had a bad scrimmage that day. He knew we were coming with the hatchet very soon for certain players.
2 minutes. Less than 2 minutes.
Just under 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Here is Bagley. So John Bagley with his second field goal. He has 4. Cavaliers lead it by 1. And a 20-second timeout is called by Lenny Wilkins. Minute 44 to go in the first half. Boston Celtics once again today without Larry Bird. It's been a slow recovery from back spasms. The first 29 games that Bird sat out, the Celtics went 12 up and 17 down, and then they pulled the surprise. They have gone 11-0 the last 11 games that Bird has missed. When they beat Indiana in Game 1 of that previous playoff series, it was the first time during the Larry Bird era that the Celtics had won a playoff game without him.
When you're talking about a great player, the magnitude of a Larry Bird, it comes in stages. First, you have to honestly believe that you have a chance of winning without him. Then you have to go out and do it after you start believing that you can get it done. And talking to the team and Chris Ford, they've gone through those stages.
Shot clock down to 2. Price, look out. 24-second violation. Price claiming that there should have been a foul call on Bagley.
An extremely heady play by Price. He knew he had no chance of getting it off, so fakes like he's going to loft it up there, gets Bagley to jump in the air, and now the tough call. Which came first, the foul or the violation, the 24-second clock?
Reggie Lewis to the reverse. Back comes Price. 1 minute remaining. First half. Price. It will be Cleveland ball. No, check that. Celtic ball last touched by the Cavaliers.
A moment ago, a call that the crowd did not appreciate. Is the clock gone, the 24-second violation, or the foul? From the replay, the foul took place first.
Again, pressure by the Cavaliers.
But, I mean, we're just splitting hairs. That's a tough call for an official.
Lewis being played by Elo. Campbell. Parrish. Half-minute remaining in the first half. Here's Daugherty.
The Cavaliers have big people that can really pass on the interior where it's so difficult because there's not a lot of space and the bodies are so big, but they have the ability to find their big teammates in those confined areas.
Williams with the steal. Time running out. Here's Nance. He drew the foul. The foul call before time expired.
Did you think it was going to go the other way on that call? That they might say time expired first? Terrific low post defense by John Williams. That's why Lenny Wilkins said yesterday with McHale, we've got to have Williams playing him. And then the hustle down the floor by the Cavalier team. Nance filling that lane to give them the opportunities just before the half.
Reggie Lewis called for his third. So this first half coming to a close, but Larry Nance to the line. Cleveland is 13 for 15 at the foul line. Now they have reset the clock, and they put 0.2 of a second back on the clock. Nance is 3 out of 4 from the line, an 82% foul shooter.
With 0.2 of a second on the clock, you cannot have a catch and shot attempt by the Celtics and count it as good. It must be some form of tip-in, no possession. Has to be 0.3 of a second or higher for it to be a catch and shot. I should say 0.3 and below it's got to be no possession above 3/10 is how I should word it, where it must be a possession, and then you're allowed to shoot it.
That coming off the controversial shot by Trent Tucker that beat the Chicago Bulls a couple of years ago at Madison Square Garden. Here's Bagley, too late. You saw just as he made the oh, would have been nice, but would not have counted. So that's the end of the first half. Cavaliers with a 47-42 lead on Boston. Coming up, our Prudential halftime report. Bob Costas and Quinn Buckner will have a complete NBA playoff rundown with reports on the Knicks, Detroit, Seattle, the Lakers, and the Clippers.
Time of Game 1 at the Richfield Coliseum. The Cavaliers lead the Celtics 47-42 back in New York. Bob Costas along with Quinn Buckner. Brad Daugherty with 13 rebounds. That's a key stat in the first half. And the bench scoring, Cleveland 19 to Boston's 12. But, of course, it's part of their plan for Hot Rod Williams to come off the bench.
And he came off very effectively. And the other person they got to come off was John Battle. What they get is somebody that, when John Battle, he's a strong body. He may not be tall enough to guard Reggie Lewis, but he's strong enough that he makes Reggie work a lot harder at getting his points. And the other thing that you get with Hot Rod Williams, is you get a shot blocker. Cleveland, the leading shot blocking team right now in the playoffs.
And they blocked 5 in the first half. Kevin Gamble had 14 for the Celtics. 12 of those came in the first quarter at the line. Cavaliers 15 of 17. Celtics have had only 2 free throw attempts in the half. A potentially big story has developed after last night's Knicks-Pistons game in New York. We mentioned on the pregame show that Mark Jackson played only 22 minutes last night and was not in during crunch time. As you see, he had only 1 basket, as rookie Greg Anthony saw most of the playing time in the second half. For more on this story, we sent Peter Vesey up to the Knicks practice in nearby Purchase, New York. Here's Pete.
Thanks, Robert. I'm up here in Purchase, New York, home of the Knicks training site. The Knicks are watching film of Game 4 right now. And the big story was that Mark Jackson left early in the third quarter, did not return. Now, he has an upper thigh strain, but also Greg Anthony played a solid game, so we don't know whether he did not return because of Anthony's production or because of his injury. The Knicks are pretty mum on that right now, but we were able to catch up with Xavier McDaniel.
It's very important, for Mark to have a great series for us because he's our leader. And, he has the experience more or less than Greg. Greg Anthony came in and done a great job for us. But we need Mark because, his leadership, and he's been there for us all year. And, he's a little hurt, but, his goal is if I step on the court, I come out and play hard. But hopefully he'll be well enough to play.
There is some speculation that Mark Jackson's injury might be a little more serious than the Knicks are letting on. Certainly they're not going to let the Pistons know that. Game 5 is tomorrow. We'll all find out then. Back to you in the studio, Robert.
I don't know what this Robert stuff is. We'll leave it at that. Mark Jackson's play, especially in the first game in New York, set a tone for the Knicks in this playoff series. And the series obviously has been so close, except for Game 1, that any alteration in the lineup could be very significant.
Well, I think anytime you make a change, as you said, this time of the year, I think it's bad for the team. But let's give some credit where credit is due. Anthony played well last night, and I think that had as much to do with Mark Jackson not playing. I'm sure the injury didn't necessarily put Pat Riley in a tough position, but Anthony played well. He deserved to play down the stretch.
But when you come to a Game 5 that's going to decide it, and you got to go with a rookie for big minutes, maybe he's got to go 40 minutes if Jackson can't go. It's a lot to ask.
It's a lot to ask in this regard. What has to happen now? If he's the play, now that Detroit knows that he'll play big minutes, they can make the adjustments. They hadn't anticipated that in Game 4. They know Anthony will play, and they'll make adjustments accordingly.
Okay, so that's the news out of New York, and we thank Pierre Vesey for it. Now we'll turn our attentions to the Knicks' opponents in tomorrow's Game 5 at the Garden. Don Criqui reports on what's been a very physical series.
Bob, it has been an especially rough series. Even the officials have mentioned keeping law and order in this one has been difficult. A guy in the middle of it all, as always, is Bill Laimbeer of the Pistons. Bill, is this an unusually rough series for you? Has it been more pushing and shoving? People seem to be glaring at each other on every dead ball.
No, I think it's basically just a nice, sound, physical series. Personally, I like to enjoy playing that way, and so are the Knicks, apparently, and I have no complaints.
What about tomorrow? What do the Pistons have to do to come out of there with a win?
Well, we have to continue to be aggressive physically because we have to match their physicalness, but I think we can run on them a little bit more. We proved last game that we can get in the open court and beat them in transition with their big guys.
Looking down the line, do you think realistically anybody can beat Chicago in the league right now?
Sure, anybody can beat them. It's going to go out there and play solid for 48 minutes. We have the mental toughness to get it done. Just a matter of going out there and doing it.
So you're pretty optimistic heading into Madison Square Garden.
Well, our team's a good road team. We've always played well on the road. We're very competitive. And we have some smart individuals and some good shooters. So anytime you have that combination, you can win anywhere.
Thank you, Bill. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Bill Laimbeer heading into the Garden to play the Knicks. Here's Bob.
Okay, Don, one series that didn't go 5 but was perhaps as hard fought as the Knicks and Pistons was the Seattle Golden State matchup. The Sonics wrapped it up in 4 on Thursday, and now they await the winner of the Jazz Clippers series. For more from Seattle, we go to Gail Gardner. Gail?
Okay, thank you, Bob. I am here with Sean Kemp. And Sean, 25 offensive rebounds against the Warriors. Michael Cage says you have given notice of your arrival. Do you feel that you have reached a new level of play in your game?
Well, I think as far as its consistency, I think so. I think, the second half of the season I've shown that I could go out each and every night and get the rebounds and also the points and the block shots.
George Karl coming in here. What has he done to cement this team, and what has he done for you personally?
Well, I think for the team, he's gave us the opportunity to go out and play our style of basketball, and our style is getting up and down the court and having lots of fun, fast break basketball and pressure defense basketball. And I think those things combined that he's gave us a great opportunity to go out and win.
And what about for you?
He's just gave me the ability to go out individually and just feel comfortable, and he's given me a lot of support from practice, from working out extra with me, and it's worked out beautifully.
Okay, Sean, thank you very much. Waiting the outcome of the Clippers-Jazz series, and let's go back to Bob in New York.
Gail, our thanks to you. And coming up next, we'll check in on the 2 LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers. But first, this message from Prudential and a word from the NBA. On the latest developments in the situation in Los Angeles. These now are pictures provided by our station in Los Angeles, KNBC. It's the scene around the Los Angeles Sports Arena. The sports arena is being used as a staging area for National Guard troops. Tomorrow's game between the Clippers and the Jazz has been moved from the sports arena to the Anaheim Convention Center near Disneyland. For the latest, we go to the practice site, which is Loyola Marymount University, and we join Tom Hammond. Tom?
Bob, the Clippers have just completed about an hour-long workout. It appeared to be an upbeat, spirited sort of practice, and we're joined now by Doc Rivers. Doc, is it possible after the events of recent days to get refocused on basketball now?
Well, us as players have to, really. Basketball and the whole scope of things is not that important, but for us, this is our livelihood, and we have to get life back to normal.
Unlike the Lakers, you will be playing in the greater Los Angeles area. Does that preserve some sort of home court advantage for you?
Yeah, we hope so. Obviously, we know we've lost some, not playing in the sports arena, but being in California, hopefully getting California fans, we'll have some people cheering for us.
Do you think the delay has helped or hurt either team a great deal?
I don't know. It's maybe only hurt us because we've not in our arena, and Utah has to stay in a hotel room for 4 days. That couldn't have helped them much either.
All right, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's Doc Rivers. The Clippers have completed their workout, and the Utah Jazz will be coming up next to practice here, Bob.
Tom, thanks very much. The Lakers and the Trailblazers, as you know, have been moved to Las Vegas for Game 4 of their series. And with a report live from the Thomas and Mack Center, which is where the game will be played, that's the home of the UNLV Runnin' Rebels. Here is the snapper, Steve Jones. Steve?
Well, thank you, Bob. You see that championship banner there. That belongs to the UNLV Running Rebels. And, of course, this is their home. But the Thomas and Mack Center is no stranger to the NBA. For 2 years, 84 to 86, Utah Jazz used to play 6 games over here. As a matter of fact, it was Thursday, April 5th, 1984. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar became the all-time leading scorer. Now, both teams are supposed to be in here to practice a little bit later on. Game 4, that will be tomorrow. And, of course, the Trailblazers, they would like nothing better to end it. The Lakers, they're showing us that they can stay alive, and they'll do it in a tough way. They know how to play in this building. Back to you, Bob.
Yeah, but of course, they were overmatched on paper and did it on emotion with the home crowd behind them in their overtime win at the Forum in Game 3. They won't have that going for them in Las Vegas tomorrow. A quick reminder, here's what the broadcast schedule looks like for tomorrow's games. Our doubleheader, Game 5 of the Knicks Pistons, followed by Game 4 of the Blazers and the Lakers. And on TNT tomorrow night, you can catch Game 4 of the Jazz and the Clippers. We'll return now with second half action, the Celtics and the Cavaliers, after these messages from your local station. Stay with us.
Boston 47%, Cavaliers only 37% on 16 for 43. Kevin Gamble had the hot hand, 7 of 12, leading the Celtics with 14, and the Cavaliers have done it at the free throw line.
You say, how can you shoot 37% and still be up 5 at the half? Well, when you get to the free throw line 17 times versus only 2 for the Celtics, there's where you pick up a lot of the points that make a difference.
Cavaliers 15 for 17 from the line. It is a 5-point Cleveland lead at halftime.
This has been the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the companies of the Prudential. In a changing world, one thing remains rock solid: the Prudential.
Leads by 5 as we head to the third quarter. Just a moment ago, Ahmad talked with Boston coach Chris Ford.
All right, thanks, Marv. Chris, you got to be concerned, I guess, with your front line. Pinckney and Parrish not really involved.
We hope that they can step it up in the second half. They got to be more aggressive at getting some offensive rebounds and also getting some shots. We got to get Robert involved in our offensive end.
How about the condition of D. Brown?
He's okay. He's ready to go. I just didn't have an opportunity to use him in the first half. He may be able to see some action in the second half.
All right, good luck in the second half, Chris.
All right, in that first half, Celtics went with John Bagley for 19 minutes, and the backup was Sherman Douglas. He played 5 minutes. Gamble, high man for Boston with 14. Hot Rod Williams off the bench to lead Cleveland with 11. Price with 10. Brad Daugherty, who has been able to hang in despite that sprained right ankle, has 9 points along with 13 rebounds. Cavaliers lead 49-42. Bagley and Lewis open up the guards. Parrish with Gamble and Pinckney up front. Here is Parrish. Well, you heard Chris Ford say that he has to get Parrish more involved in the offense. Robert Parrish, that his first field goal. And the Daugherty.
Pick and roll run by Cleveland. They run it as well as anybody in the league.
Price with the steal. Daugherty handles the ball so well. Brad Daugherty goes 7 feet, about 260 pounds, and he handled it as if he were a backcourt man and putting the move on Bagley.
And Bagley kept faking and then backing up, thinking that for sure he's got to give it up to Mark Price, who sneaking in on the left lane, but nope, Daugherty kept it all the way.
Cavaliers by 7. Parrish under pressure. Greg Elo putting the head fake on. Kevin Gamble did not go for it. Elo and Price in the backcourt. Nance, Daugherty, Sanders up front. Sanders trying to post up. Here's Elo. And let's see what the call is here by Kersey. Last touch by Boston.
The steal by Mark Price, the deflection, the good hands. Now decision time for the big man. Keep it or give it up. I think I'll keep this one for a deuce.
Elo checking with Coach Glenn Wilkins. Price using the pick. It's a pick and roll. Works beautifully. And Daugherty hobbles his way back to the Cavalier bench as the Celtics take a timeout. Let's go over to Ahmad.
All right, Marv, I spoke with Brad Daugherty during halftime. He said that ankle's really bothering him, but it's okay as long as he keeps playing. The moment he sits down, it starts to stiffen up, and then he's almost through. So I'm sure they'll try to keep him playing as much as possible. Marv?
All right, and he seemed to be a bit on the gimpy side as he made his way to the Cleveland bench.
Let's take a look at that pick and roll situation. Mark Price will wind up with the basketball, the screen by Daugherty, but it's the spacing by the outside people that make the difference. It makes Boston's defense extend. Look at that lane area open up as Daugherty goes down for the layup.
Two minutes gone by in the third quarter. Lewis, yes.
Reggie Lewis
Reggie Lewis has hit 5 out of 10. He has 12. The Cavaliers 53, the Celtics 46.
Another pick and roll. They'll stay with it until Boston does something to stop it.
Price with a beautiful pull-up off the pick and roll. Here's Bagley. That pass off the mark. Last touch by Bagley.
An excellent defensive rotation by Mike Sanders, getting back down inside as Bagley was going to drop it off for the dunk. Sanders rotating down from the away side, just got a left hand there to deflect it.
Now Nance off the pick, finding Sanders. And it will be, let's see, late call here by
15 seconds to shoot.
late call by the officials. They say last touch by the Celtics, and apparently they wanted to readjust the shot clock. 15 on the 24. Lewis fronting Sanders, who is looking for position. Shot clock at 2, down to 1. Nance. And Pinckney able to sweep for the rebound.
Well, good job by Nance, just stepping through there to get a look at the rim. Just get it up there, and perhaps if it doesn't go in, you get a second chance opportunity.
Lewis, yes.
Andrew Lewis. Timeout.
Cavaliers lead by 7. And a timeout is taken with 8:46 remaining, third quarter. Very nice. A mild form of child abuse. Well, we dealt with this matchup right at the start of the telecast. Brad Daugherty with 13 points, 13 rebounds has certainly had his way to this point against Robert Parrish. Parrish has 3 fouls. 8.5 remaining in the third. Daugherty getting the position.
He almost forces you to come back and double team him. He takes his time, great presence on the floor, then gets to an area where he's comfortable, and such a high field goal percentage shooter because of that.
57% from the field among the leaders. 16 for Gamble. Cleveland leads 57-50. Marv Albert, Mike Fratello, Ahmad Rashad from the Coliseum in Richfield. Game 1 of the best of 7 between the Cavaliers and the Celtics.
Daugherty just couldn't go after that one full speed and trying to save it as it was going out of bounds.
Lewis with the step. 16 for Lewis, and Boston within 5. Game 2 of this series will take place here on Monday night. Game 3 in Boston on Wednesday, and Game 4 next Saturday in Boston. Elo able to elude Lewis, and it's tipped home. What a performance by Brad Daugherty despite the sprained ankle.
And the way these games are scheduled, I'm not so sure he's going to get a real long chance to get that thing back healthy again.
The basket will count, and the foul. So Gamble to the line.
When a big guy has this type of presence where he looks over the floor, takes his time, then gets to a spot where he's that comfortable, big decisions to make. You go back and get him or play him straight up. But that ankle, very tender, just doesn't let him go after it the way he would like to. You leave the big guy under the rim, though. He doesn't have to jump very high to stick it back in.
And that was only the third trip to the line for the Boston Celtics. Evan Gamble has 19 points. Cavaliers lead 59-55. Nance isolated with Gamble. Oh, went to the hook shot.
Because of the range that Mark Price has, he's feeding the post from about 4 feet behind the three-point line.
Gamble. Boston had hit their last 5 field goal attempts. Price was met by Bagley, gave it up to Daugherty. And Brad Daugherty to the foul line. And Pinckney charged with his third.
When I saw Price coming out of this thing with the steal and he was heading towards the scorer's table, got nervous for a second because I remember the play in Atlanta where he wrecked that knee, but elevates, gets up there, and then looks for help, and who comes to the rescue but Brad Daugherty.
Here's Kevin McHale for Ed Pinckney. Brad Daugherty with 10 of his 17 points here in the third quarter. Cleveland 62 and Boston 55. Lewis spinning off the screen, then got the step. Oh, what a move by Reggie Lewis. 18 for Lewis.
It's almost as if Reggie, listening to all the plaudits that his teammates gave him after the last series, said, I need to step up and take over right now to get us back in this game.
And he has certainly stepped up during the playoffs. He led the Celtics during the regular season, averaging just under 21 per game. In the series against Indiana, he was just under 28 points per game. It is a very favorable matchup for Lewis. Bagley, and the rebound handled by Nance.
Cleveland had three players boxing out, Nance, Daugherty, and Price. And Price saw it coming to him and then looked each side and said, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. Let me just stay on the ground, let the big guys do that work.
Elo from downtown. Oh, good play by Nance, sweeping in for the rebound. It's Nance again, and a loose ball foul is called. It's on Nance. That is his second.
A few moments ago, I mentioned Mark Price with the steal coming at us. Reminded me of back in Atlanta when the injury took place to his knee, heading towards the scorer's table, hit a wire on the floor, tore that knee up.
That was back November 30th, 1990. Bagley and the Celtics are within 3. Price missing the rest of that season after playing only 16 games. And then he went down again last year. Just under 5 minutes to go in the third. Here's Daugherty. What an excellent passing team we are watching.
And they stay within what they're trying to get done. As Lenny Wilkins mentioned yesterday, we're not the kind of team that wants to come down and get shots up quickly half-court offense. Sure, we'll take a fast break, or if a guy's got an open transition or early offense shot. Otherwise, we want to make the defense pay the price. And that time, the Celtics actually played pretty good defense for about 20 seconds.
Here's Bagley. And Elo to the front court as the Celtics get back.
The NBA runs a pre-draft camp every year before the draft comes up. I was coaching one of the teams a few years back, and Craig Elo was on that team. He reminded me of Evel Knievel at that time. Fearless, a little bit out of control, but with a chance to make it.
Foul on the Cavaliers. It's on Daugherty, his first.
The ball is on Brad Daugherty. That's his first.
Daugherty coming in from the offside. In his opinion, never laid a hand and no body contact. Was a clean tip. Unfortunately, he didn't have the whistle.
Lewis on a quick release. Loose ball foul. And that is called on Parrish. Now that is his third. We have the incorrect figure earlier. That is 3 on Parrish.
Does Robert Parrish give a shove, or is it a pretty good acting job by Daugherty that time? The Chief feels that that little forearm in the back, no way could knock that big fella down.
Daugherty got hit on the head with that pass. Cavaliers fortunate to maintain possession. Here's Price getting it over McHale. Foul.
Well, again, a team that ranks very low in the NBA in rebounding, the Cavaliers against Jersey when they had to do it, the best in the league rebounding, they got it done. Here's second shot opportunities. You give them this many chances on the glass, they're going to be difficult to beat because they usually get more shots than their opponents every night out by the mere fact that they commit the fewest fouls in the NBA, don't give up easy points at the free throw line for the opponent.
By virtue of that three-point play, the Cavaliers lead 67-59. 3 minutes remaining in the third. Lewis, he went to the left hand with time running out on the 24. It'll be Boston ball. Last touch by Cleveland. And the Celtics call for time. Here in Richfield is a community known as Boston Township, so the Celtics can feel right at home. But I know this all confused you, Mike. You had some difficulties with that.
I had my bags checked to Massachusetts. Just before the timeout, I mentioned that Cleveland usually winds up with more shots than their opponents. And I said because they commit the fewest fouls in the NBA, which they do. They don't put their opponents on the free throw line. But what I meant to say there is they also commit the fewest turnovers. They don't give their opponents a lot of opportunities.
It is Boston ball as we resume following the timeout. Cavaliers lead by 8. Good pressure on Bagley. Just under 3 minutes remaining in the third. Here is McHale.
Come on, man!
Parrish comes away with it. A facial by Robert Parrish. That's only a second field goal. Cavaliers 67. The Celtics 61.
Parrish looking like he's having a little problem with his ankle, but then again, he always has problems with those ankles.
Yeah, he's been bothered by ankle difficulties right throughout the season.
You got everybody in there battling for the Cavaliers, but the Chief comes up with it and just wants to make sure that Williams and Nance get no chance to send one back.
And Parrish appears to be hobbling as he's been pulled by Chris Ford, replaced by Ed Pinckney. Shot clock at 5. Elo for Nance. Cavaliers 69. The Celtics 61. Trainer Ed Lacerte taking a close look at Robert Parrish. Pinckney off a nice feed. Nance for Price. Look out, Price shaken up in the collision with Lewis.
I'm not sure that Mark Price didn't first get hit with a left elbow by Reggie Lewis to the face, nose, cheek area. Price doesn't really have a chance to see who's behind him. There's the left elbow right in the right cheek area, and then the collision with his teammate, and then Lewis landing on top. Obviously no one intending to hurt anyone, just hard play going after the basketball.
Lewis called for the foul. That is his 4th. Mark Price looking a little woozy. Heads to the bench, replaced by Steve Kerr.
Teammates, where am I?
D. Brown making his first. D. Brown missing 8 games because of the acute sinus condition that also included vertigo. His depth perception affected. Experienced dizziness. Kerr off the bench to hit for his second field goal, and it opens up a 10-point Cleveland lead.
What a story, Steve Kerr. Remember that United States team that was back playing for the World Championships? Blew the knee out. They sent him home. D. Brown taking his first shot and missing from downtown, and Kerr really given not much of a chance of coming back and playing because of the damage to that knee. And you know what he is? He's a specialist. He comes in and does just what you ask him to do. Stay and play under control. Make open shots when we throw you the basketball.
Elo. Nance nearly stole the rebound. It'll be Boston ball. Rick Fox checking in. Well, you saw Robert Parrish head off just a moment ago, hobbling to the bench for a report. Let's go to Ahmad Rashad.
All right, Marv, you know Robert Parrish has the bad ankles. He just injured his ankle. He said it's a little bit sore, and he's just going to sit down for a while to see how it feels.
All right, Ahmad. Timeout has been taken by the Celtics with 57 seconds to go in this third quarter. The Cavaliers lead by the score of 71 to 61. It has been a magnificent season for Robert Parrish, joining Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the only players to go over 20,000 points, 12,000 rebounds, 2,000 blocks, 1,200 games, and 1,000 steals. Robert Parrish headed for the Hall of Fame. He's 38 years old, the oldest player in the league, and still going strong.
And the other thing is Robert Parrish has become a different Robert Parrish as far as how he's opened up, dealing with the media. And he said, hey, I just felt that after all those years where I basically didn't want to talk to anyone, I felt it was better if I just stayed to myself. It's time for me to open up and move on a little bit.
A reminder, stay with us. Following the Cavaliers and the Celtics, will be presenting the 1992 NBA All-Star Game. Because of the unrest in Los Angeles, the LA Clipper-Utah Jazz game scheduled for this afternoon and to be seen here on NBC was postponed until tomorrow evening. That's Eastern time, and they will play it at the Anaheim Convention Center. So in that time period following Cleveland-Boston, we will present another look at this season's NBA All-Star Game, the game that featured Magic Johnson's return. And Magic will be on hand with Dick Enberg to discuss what was a very emotional afternoon in Orlando, Florida.
Very emotional for me. I got to call out with a wonderful play-by-play person. One of the best ever.
And the crowd urging the Cavaliers on. It's Boston ball. They're down by 10. D. Brown looking to shoot his way back into it.
You know, I'm just wondering, since I'm doing 2 games this afternoon, do I collect 2 checks?
If I were you, I would check it out with the NBC accounting department. It's an honest request on your part. I'm sure they'll accept it very well. Elo is rejected. Sanders on the follow. Down to 20 seconds to go in the third. I could see the production people editing you out of the All-Star telecast at this very moment. McCall tied up. Final seconds. Strong finish to the third for Cleveland. Kerr. Yes! Well, Steve Kerr is known as the master of the long shot, but this may be carrying the point a bit too far.
His eyes are on the front of the rim the entire way. He knew exactly how much time was left. His teammates were yelling instructions out to him. There's Elo telling him 2 seconds left. And he loves it in the end, and so does the crowd.
A 14-2 run by Cleveland to end the quarter. We'll be back after these messages and a word from your local station.
Up along with Steve Kerr, about a 50-footer coming from downtown. Nothing but the bottom of the net.
Well, Steve Kerr has been a perimeter specialist in his 4 years in the NBA. He has established himself as the all-time three-point shooter at 47%, followed by Drazen Petrovic of the Nets, Dana Barros of Seattle.
The way he put both arms up, I think he was calling for 6 points on that one, not just 3.
Fourth quarter underway. Cavaliers 76, the Celtics 61. Gamble with the follow, and he drew the foul. Cleveland ended the third with a 14-2 run. Brad Daugherty called for the foul. This a game that saw the Cavaliers, who did not shoot well against the Nets in the fourth game of the series Thursday, not only 39%, a game that saw Cleveland miss their first 9 from the field and missed their first 12 out of 14, and then they turned things around.
At halftime, they're shooting 37%, leading by 5, but now, slowly, they're creeping back up there, just over 43% from the floor.
Kerr being guarded by Brown. D. Brown came on late third quarter, playing for the first time after missing 8 games. The Boston Celtics with an 11-game win streak on the line. Here is Kerr, rejected by Brown. Boston has won 18 of its last 19. High speed, Brown for Pinckney.
And that's that last trip down for Cleveland. You saw Steve Kerr try to do something that is not in his game. Take somebody off the dribble and then shoot a jumper on the move. That's not what he does best. He spots up, knocks them down when other teams have to rotate back down on their big people.
Now Daugherty being played by McHale. And through the foul. Kevin McHale charged with his first.
Well, I guess after you knock out that 50-footer, sometimes you get a little bit excited and try and do a little bit more. D. Brown says, no, wait a minute. It's time for me to dig in and play some D, get a block, and then lead the break down the other end.
Brad Daugherty to the line. He's 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Cleveland Cavaliers with a 57-25 regular season. Second best record behind Chicago. They tied with Portland with that 57 up, 25 down. Then they knocked off the Nets in 4. Wrapped up the series Thursday, although the Cavaliers did not play particularly well on Thursday night. McHale wide open. And the Cavaliers now lead at 78-66.
Kevin McHale had time to catch that pass, rotate the basketball so he got the seams where he wanted, and then knock down the jumper from the right corner.
For this particular core group of Cavaliers, the steal by Gamble, this is their 4th playoff series. They've been beat twice by Chicago, once by Philadelphia. Out of the playoffs last year, an injury-hit season. Rod Williams, back out for John Battle. Oh, good play by Rick Fox. Closed the lane and stripped Battle. Brown, oh, he's way off. So D hears it from the Coliseum crowd. Timeout is called. Today's fellow Genuine Draft, Genuine Memory takes us back to the 1979 NBA Finals. It was Lenny Wilkens, Seattle Supersonics, led by Gus Williams, finishing off a 97-93 victory over the Washington Bullets to win the championship in 5 games. Len Wilkens actually began his coaching career as a player coach for Seattle in 1969. In recognition of this great memory, Miller Genuine Draft donates $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. Lenny Wilkens, a Hall of Famer, won his 800th game as a head coach back in March, joining a very select list. Red Auerbach, Jack Ramsey, Dick Motta, Bill Fitch, the only others to win 800 plus. Shot clock at 4. Williams. So Boston in possession. They are down by 12. 3 minutes gone by in the 4th. E. Brown now operating at the point guard position. Kevin Gamble at the big guard. They doubled up on McHale. Shot clock at 2. Gamble. Crowd wants to travel. It's a 24-second violation.
Art Price back to the Cavs. Replacing Steve Kerr.
The Celtics not getting the production out of the point guard spot. John Bagley, who came up so big in the series with Indiana, has been quiet, and D. Brown is just working his way back. Mark Price has returned, being guarded by Brown. Once again, good defensive sequence by the Celtics. Nance sneaking up from behind, but deflected it out. Now Bagley and Lewis return. Brown and Gamble will sit down. Evan Gamble leads with 20 points. Fox, Pinckney, and McHale on the front line, with Bagley and Lewis at the guard. The trap of Bagley leaves Pinckney open. He finds Fox. And it is down to a 10-point Cavalier lead.
Rick Fox showing no fear of taking it up to the big people in their face and then converting.
Cavaliers have led by as many as 15. Good play by Fox. Now the Cavaliers racing the shot clock. It's down to 4. Down to 3. Down to 1. And it's a violation.
Both teams have played excellent defense in the last sequence of plays.
And Fox does it on the break. Len Wilkins will call for time. The Celtics, with a good run, have trimmed the Cavalier lead down to 8. A 9-2 spurt. 7:48 to go in the fourth.
In New York on the postgame following the Celtics-Cavaliers matchup. We're going to get a further report on the condition of Knick guard Mark Jackson. He confirmed to our Peter Vesey after a Knick practice today that, in fact, he does have an injured left thigh. It hampered him in Game 3 and 4. He does expect to play tomorrow in Game 5. How much? We don't know for sure. We'll get a complete report from Pete Vesey after the game between the Celtics and Cavs. Let's go back to Marv Albert.
All right, Bob. But as Quinn made the point at halftime, and I was in attendance at the Knick-Detroit game last night, I felt that Jackson sat out more because of the good play of Greg Anthony, who 2 key shots from downtown, as opposed to the injury. Yes, he's bothered by the bruised thigh, and maybe it's even more serious now, but Greg Anthony had his best game offensively as a Knick.
Are you passing medical judgment now?
No, I hedged it, as you know. So Mark Price is able to hit, and the Cavaliers lead by 10. No, I said it might be more severe. That was the indication from Pete Vesey. Fox not able to hit, and back comes Elo. The Knicks in Detroit in the 5th and final game at Madison Square Garden tomorrow afternoon. We'll be there. Showtime will get it going at 12:30 Eastern Time. Nance with 18 points. Cavaliers open up a 12-point advantage.
Talking to Lenny Wilkins yesterday, we asked him how much he's changed as a coach since the time he won the championship with Seattle till now, and he said, well, not a whole lot. I still demand the same 2 things, good defense and sharing the basketball, which they just showed you at the other end.
Bagley on the recovery, nice feed, but Lewis was stopped. Here's Fox. Rick Fox sparking the Celtics here in the 4th quarter. That's his 3rd field goal. He has 6. Cleveland leads by 10. Cavaliers led by as many as 15. They had that lead after Kerr hit that 50-foot bomb that ended the 3rd quarter. Nance, yes. Cavaliers 84. The Celtics 72. We touched earlier on the subject of the season series between these 2 teams. Boston winning 3 out of 4, winning both games here. Cavaliers have lost the last 3 overall to the Celtics, but Brad Daugherty missed 2 of those games. Larry Bird missed 3. Here's Price. And Chris Ford wants a timeout.
Mark Price comes at you. He gets you back on your heels, and then this time showing us a little bit of Larry Bird lefty hook shot.
I don't see him in Richfield. Earlier we ran down the schedule for this series, but it was not correct. There is nothing official in terms of the rest of the series except for Game 2, and that will be played here on Monday night starting at 8. The other dates have not been set. So all we know is that Game 2 between the Celtics and the Cavaliers will take place here at the Coliseum on Monday night. Once again, the excellent defense by Cleveland. Fox for three. Air ball and a 24-second violation.
The Cavalier defense is just doing an outstanding job. The crowd's behind him. They've got him playing emotional basketball. They're hustling, double-teaming, rotating, and taking the Celtics out of what they're trying to do at the offensive end.
Cleveland with a 14-point lead as we come up on 5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. Nance, he has had the outside touch, 22 points for Larry Nance. Loose ball foul on Bagley.
Well, a little bit of frustration setting in. Bagley trying to split two defenders off the dribble. Knows he shouldn't have gone into that territory and then tries to make up for it.
Cleveland in the midst of a 10-2 run. Make it 24 for Nance.
And when you're looking at the Celtics' ability to come back in this basketball game, you must keep in mind that they rank right at the bottom of the NBA in number of three-pointers attempted or made. In fact, Mark Price had taken 261 coming into this game. The entire Celtic team, 359.
Sherman Douglas returns. John Bagley sits down. This is the biggest lead of the day for Cleveland. Here is Douglas with a wild shot.
Not exactly how your head coach wants you to get the team back into the game.
Well, that has been the problem in the usage of Sherman Douglas, who is trying to impress, trying to do it, but he's thinking shot first. Daugherty!
And in fairness to Sherman Douglas, it's difficult when you're with an expansion team just starting out and you happen to be one of the go-to guys that has to carry the team and try to make things happen. With the Celtics, they don't have to do that. Just share the basketball.
They are on their feet here at the Coliseum. The Cavaliers receiving a standing ovation. They are standing and cheering. The Cavaliers have taken a 20-point lead. Joe Klein replacing Kevin McHale. It's been a long time between championship seasons here in Cleveland. You go back to the Browns of 64. Browns winning the title on 4 occasions. Indians have won 2 World Series. Here's Daugherty.
And I'm not quite sure that the fans totally believe yet that this Cavalier team is for real. There are a few, and very few, empty seats in the building today, but they're waiting to see exactly what takes place. This might be just what they needed, this kind of win in Game 1.
Ed Pinckney with 6 points. Crowd today at 17,496, so that is short of the 20,000 capacity. They average 16.5. Their 3rd best attendance season here at the Coliseum in Richfield. Nance. And back comes Douglas for Boston with 2.5 remaining in this fourth quarter. Campbell from Douglas. Brad Daugherty with 17 rebounds along with 24 points. And you know, the ankle looking better.
Well, it's about that time for Lenny Wilkins to pull that big fella out of there and get him off that ankle.
Here's Elo. Williams with a second opportunity. Nance. And it's Elo hustling it down.
Less than 2 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter.
You know, when they made the trade, Ron Harper to the Los Angeles Clippers, Their thought was Elo would be able to step up into that spot and not be a Ron Harper as far as scoring, but give him enough there and make up for it in other areas.
26 points for Brad Daugherty on what has been a glorious afternoon for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Price called for the foul. Here comes Mike Sanders with John Battle. Steve Kerr, now Len Wilkins is emptying the bench. Brad Daugherty, 10 for 20, 26 points, 17 rebounds. Larry Nance connecting on 9 of 16 for 24 points. And Danny Ferry makes his first appearance. The Cavaliers hearing it from the crowd.
19 for 36 for the big guys, 50 points.
Fox from downtown. Gamble rejected. Oh, Sanders got a piece of it. Gamble leading Boston with 22. When things are going well for the Cleveland Cavaliers, the decibel level here at the Coliseum may be the loudest in the NBA. Put it right next to Chicago and Portland. Shot clock at 5. 1 minute remaining in the game. Mike Sanders with his third field goal. He has 6. Cavaliers 96. Celtics 76. Boston made that run. Curry was fouled by Klein. Cleveland called for the timeout, and then they were able to put this one away.
The crowd not liking the fact that Joe Klein, just a mild little pushing, shoving match with Danny Ferry after the ball was rebounded, and Joe not real happy with the score. None of the Celtics are, and just a little interaction there, that's all it is.
Terrell Brandon, first-round draft pick rookie from Oregon, has come on for the first time. Will it count? Yes, it does, and the foul. So Battle hits, and the foul away from the ball will put Ferry at the line.
The foul is on Joe Klein, rather.
Klein called for the foul.
Perhaps a little continuation of the altercation that started at the other end between Klein and Ferry. Sent a little message for the next game.
Danny Ferry, who was lured from Italy for the big contract after that trade you referred to involving Ron Harper, but Dan has been a disappointment, not getting the playing time now.
Not easy to get the playing time when you got a Nance and a John Williams playing a lot of minutes for the team.
Brandon's shot went off, and Gamble pegs it down. Here's Douglas putting the move on Henry James, who just checked in. And the ball goes back to Cleveland with 12 seconds remaining. A 21-6 run by Cleveland to put this one away. Brandon, Cavaliers in a blowout. Cavaliers 101, the Celtics 76. So the Boston win streak is ended at 11. They had won 18 of the last 19. And now that the Celtics have lost, of course, we don't know the condition of Larry Bird, but you wonder if Bird is about to make his return. Larry remaining back in Boston with the back problem today. We'll be right back. Game one of this best of 7, won by the Cavaliers in convincing fashion as they put on a burst in the fourth quarter and defeated the Celtics 101-76. Brad Daugherty, despite the sprained ankle, finished with 26 points and 17 rebounds. Kevin Gamble led Boston with 22. So again, that final, the Cavaliers 101 and the Celtics 76. Coming up, Bob Costas with our post-game report. We'll take a closer look at the Mark Jackson injury situation and then another look at this season's NBA All-Star Game with Magic Johnson commenting on it along with Dick Enberg. Thanks for tuning in.